Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and I saw Paddington in Peru and I loved it. Now I was really looking forward to this movie. Like everyone else, I'm a big fan of the Paddington films. They are better than they have any right to be. They're sweet, touching, hilarious, charming little films, and I was really looking forward to this third installment. However, I was a bit more skeptical on how this movie would do for the sole fact that a couple of the key players in the previous installment would not be returning. Sally Hawkins was not going to be back, and the original director, Paul King, was too busy with Wonka, so he could not return to direct this movie. So those were two really big concerns for me, like, oh no, will this be the one to stink? Will this be the one that reminds me of the Smurfs or Alvin and the Chipmunks? And while it is the weakest of the three, it is still a very charming, very delightful film. My worries were not to be taken at heart. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie a lot. For this adventure, we venture into the jungles of Peru, where Paddington has to learn to reconnect with his roots, and the Brown family are out of their element as they have to navigate the jungles, like I said, and it leads for some really funny, really entertaining sequences. You could definitely compare this to something like Jungle Cruise or Dora and the Lost City of Gold, but with the Paddington characters. But that's what makes it so entertaining. These characters are just so likable and charming, and seeing them out of their element, trying to reconnect with the jungles and the environments of Peru is all very entertaining and leads to some really sweet moments and absolutely hilarious moments. This is easily, in my opinion, the funniest of the Paddington movies. There's a lot of great gags and a lot of great scenarios the characters find themselves into, and I also really liked a lot of the new characters in here as well. Olivia Colman and Antonio Banderas were a lot more prominent. We got to learn a bit more about those characters than I was expecting, and they made the most out of their time. They really brought a lot to the world of this movie and the situations and the story. They were definitely more vital to the story than I thought they were, and they were definitely welcome additions. I thought they did great jobs. They were both very funny, very entertaining, and the recurring characters are just as charming and lovable as well. And the movie itself is still very heartwarming and sweet. We still got that charm and heart that was there with the first two. Not as much as the second one, mind you. It's not that emotional. It's not gonna, rip your heart out or anything like that movie did. But there was still a lot of sweet, touching moments. You definitely tell that the Browns really care about Paddington and vice versa. And especially with the ending here, again, it's not Paddington 2, but it still warmed my cynical, cold heart, if you will. It was really sweet and touching, and they really stuck the landing with the ending. And there's also a great message about found family, and even a solid allegory about immigration. Paddington, he's not from Britain, but he feels at home with the Browns, and the film touches on that, I think, very well and effectively. And with this being a more action adventure of the films, there's a lot of action sequences and chase sequences, and they're all really done well. There's a lot of inspiration taken from these types of movies, Indiana Jones, and even I would say the most recent Jumanji films, and you can tell that inspiration is there. A lot of them are very well done, action-packed, and just really entertaining. They have the Paddington charm to them where they can be ridiculous, dare I say, cartoonish and over the top, but it all adds to the experience. It never feels like, okay, we are in a completely different movie. It actually feels like this belongs in the world, and they're all really fun and well put together. And as a sequel, it also does a good job of connecting to the other films. Going from the trailers, it seemed like, okay, this would just be like a one-off type thing, the Paddington goes to the jungle episode, but they actually add to the lore and expand on Paddington's character a bit more, especially near the end of the film. There's certain reveals that tie back to the first couple movies that I wasn't expecting, and I thought they really made this film feel more connected to the franchise as a whole, which I thought was really surprising and well done. But like I said, this is the weakest of the Paddington films, and with it comes a few problems. For starters, the movie is so focused on the journey that we kind of lose that magic and heart that the other two films had. I would really like to see more scenes of just the Browns family interacting, developing their relationships, and just interacting with one another as a whole. That was definitely missing, and I think Paul King would have probably brought more of that to the film, since we're so much more focused on the journey. The movie's kind of always on the move, so we could have really used a bit more time to just slow down and take in a couple moments, maybe develop some of the characters. A problem that I also have with this movie is one of the problems I had with the second movie, is that the kids don't really feel as important as they did in the first film. They're not as sidelined or feel pointless like, say, the girls in like the later Despicable Me movies, but given how important they were in the first one, I would have loved to see them do a bit more. They're still really likable and charming and funny, which is why I would have liked to see them do a bit more. And there's also a lot more focus put on some of the side characters, especially Antonio Banderas, that Paddington kind of takes a backseat in his own movie. It's not like Tom and Jerry where he feels like the secondary character, but there are moments where we start putting so much more focus on Antonio Banderas where it feels like, okay, let's put the focus a bit back onto Paddington. Like, he's the reason we're seeing this movie. Again, it's not egregious, but there were definitely points where like, okay, this is now becoming Antonio Banderas' movie as opposed to Paddington's. Even with those flaws, I still thoroughly enjoyed Paddington in Peru. I thought it was another great addition to this franchise that is just better than it has any right to be. It's hilarious, sweet, action-packed, got great characters, both old and new, and really was able to tie itself back into the franchise in ways I didn't expect it to. Of course, if you're a fan of these movies, I'd say go check it out as soon as possible. While it's not as strong or excellent as its predecessors, it's still a very charming, very likable, very entertaining movie. And if you're just in the mood for a good kids movie right now, and if you've already seen Dogman, I'd say go check this out at the theater. I thought this was a great time. So those are my thoughts on Paddington in Peru. What did you all think of it? If you've seen it, did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links at the end of the video. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.
Take a chance, take a moment.